Part 1. The Threshold. The screen is black. The only sound is the rhythmic, heavy crunch of gravel under boots. Crunch, crunch. Then, the roar of a heavy rainstorm hitting a tin roof. You aren't a soldier yet. You're just a number. A candidate in a sea of shadows. This is selection. The filter that separates those who want the glory from those who can survive the grit. Your entire existence is now reduced to 3 things. A 60-pound rucksack that feels like it's fusing to your spine, a pair of boots that haven't been dry in 4 days, and the relentless, mocking ticking of a clock. It's 3 a.m. You're cold, wet, and sleep-deprived to the point of hallucination. Your body is screaming for you to just stop, to put the pack down, to ring the bell and go back to a warm bed. But selection isn't a test of your muscles. It's a test of your why. It's about who refuses to quit when their soul is begging for a way out. The forest doesn't care about your resume. The instructors don't care about your pain. Part 2. The forging. You survived the filter. You're still standing. But now the real work begins. You've entered the pipeline. You aren't just a survivor anymore. You are a student of warfare. Your life becomes a blur of high-intensity training and academic exhaustion. One moment, you're in a classroom, eyes burning under dim lamps as you memorize green ink, the complex mathematics of demolitions, the nuances of a foreign tongue, or the life-saving precision of trauma medicine. The next, you're on the range, repeating the same draw and fire motion until your hands bleed. This is where they rebuild you. The civilian world, the malls, the movies, the normal life, becomes a distant memory, like a dream you once had. Your peers are no longer just coworkers. They are your only family. You are being forged into a weapon, but a weapon that must also be a scholar. It's a 24/7 evaluation. Every mistake is recorded. Every lapse in judgment is a potential failure. In the pipeline, there is no such thing as good enough. Part 3. The weight of the cloth. Graduation day. The morning air is crisp, and for the first time in years, the weight on your shoulders isn't a rucksack. It's the green beret. When that cloth is pinned to your head, the pride is overwhelming. It's the culmination of every mile run and every night lost. But as the ceremony ends, the silence sets in. You realize that the tab on your shoulder isn't a trophy. It's a debt. You've earned the right to walk into an ODA team room. You walk through that door, expecting a hero's welcome, only to find 12 grizzled veterans who don't care about your accolades or how fast you ran in selection. They look at you and see a new guy. They see a liability until you prove otherwise. You've reached the start line of a professional career where the stakes are life and death. You aren't just representing yourself anymore. You're representing every man who wore the beret before you. The celebration is over. Tomorrow, you deploy. And in this world, you have to earn that beret every single day. Part 4. The first deployment. The smell hits you first. A mixture of diesel fumes, burning trash, and dry, ancient dust. This is your first deployment. The air is thick, hot enough to feel like a physical weight against your skin. You're no longer training in the woods of North Carolina. You're outside the wire. Every time you leave the gate, the world changes. The colors are muted. The tension is a low-frequency hum in your chest. You're sitting in the back of a Humvee, the armor plates vibrating against your spine, scanning a horizon that looks empty but feels crowded with eyes. Your first mission isn't like the movies. It's hours of waiting, followed by seconds of pure adrenaline-soaked chaos. You realize quickly that the enemy doesn't play by the rules of your training manuals. Your heart hammers against your ribs, but your hands remain steady because they have to. You look at your team leader, and in his calm, unblinking stare, you find your own focus. The reality of war has arrived, and it is far louder and much dirtier than you ever imagined. Part 5. The surgical strike. Years pass. You aren't the new guy anymore. You've specialized. Maybe you're the comm sergeant, or the Echo, the master of explosives. Now, your missions are direct action. This is the surgical side of Special Forces. You operate in the dead of night, moving through the shadows like a ghost made of Kevlar and steel. The world shrinks down to the green-tinted glow of your night vision goggles. You breathe through your mouth to stay quiet, the sound of your own heart, the only noise in your ears. When you hit a target, it's a symphony of violence, controlled, precise, and over in minutes. Breaching doors, clearing rooms with a fluidity that looks like a dance, but feels like a storm. You aren't just a soldier, you are a specialist in the impossible. There is a cold, professional satisfaction in the silence that follows a successful hit. You gather the intel, you extract, and you vanish into the night before the sun even thinks about rising. Part 6. The Warrior Diplomat. But Special Forces isn't just about kicking down doors, it's about the warrior diplomat. You find yourself in a remote village, thousands of miles from anything familiar, sitting on a dirt floor and drinking tea with a local elder. This is foreign internal defense. Your job is to train an army from nothing. You have to navigate tribal politics, cultural nuances, and language barriers that feel like walls. It requires more patience than any rucking march ever did. You're building trust in a place where trust is a currency more valuable than gold. You see the pride in the eyes of the local soldiers as they learn to defend their own homes. You realize that sometimes the most powerful weapon you carry isn't your rifle, it's your ability to listen and your willingness to understand a world that is nothing like your own. You are an ambassador in a combat zone, shaping the future of a nation one conversation at a time. Part 7. The Tip of the Spear. For some, the journey doesn't stop at the ODA. You push further, aiming for the Tier 1 units. This is the absolute peak of the mountain. Here, the missions don't exist on any public record. You are the tip of the spear. The training somehow gets even harder, the standards even more impossible. You are operating at a level where perfection is the minimum requirement. The operations are strategic, the kind of missions that can change the course of history or start a war if they go wrong. You live in a world of constant readiness, a bags-packed existence where a phone call can send you across the globe in hours. The pressure is immense, but the bond between you and your teammates is unbreakable. You know their every move before they make it. You are a single, collective organism designed for one purpose: to go where others cannot and do what others will not. Part 8. The Toll of War. The years of constant on start to take their toll. It's not just the physical injuries, the bad knees, the ringing in your ears, the scars that mark your skin. It's the weight of the things you've seen and the friends you've lost. You start to see their faces in the quiet moments. You remember the smell of the smoke after a firefight and the way the air felt right before an IED went off. When you go home on leave, the silence of a suburban street feels wrong. The grocery store feels like a maze of unnecessary choices. You find yourself scanning rooftops for snipers while you're just trying to buy milk. The moral injury is a slow burn. The questions you ask yourself in the dark about the cost of the life you chose. You realize that while you were out saving the world, you were slowly losing touch with the one you left behind. Part 9. The Mentor. You reach a point where your body tells you it's time to step back from the front lines. But you don't leave the community, you become the mentor. You go back to the schoolhouse, back to where it all began. Now, you are the one wearing the instructor's hat, watching a new generation of candidates struggle through the mud of selection. You see your younger self in their tired eyes. You find a new kind of purpose in passing on the hard-learned lessons of a dozen deployments. You teach them that the gear doesn't make the man, and that the most important weapon they have is the one between their ears. You become the guardian of the culture, the one who ensures that the standards never slip. There is a profound, quiet pride in knowing that the legacy of the Beret is safe in the hands of the men you are forging. Part 10. The Transition. Finally, the day comes. You hang up the uniform for the last time. The transition to civilian life is the hardest mission you've ever faced. There is no rucksack to carry, no team leader to follow, and no clear enemy to fight. The world feels slow, and the lack of stakes feels like a vacuum. You struggle to find a new identity that isn't tied to a unit or a rank. But as the months pass, you begin to find your footing. You realize that the discipline, the resilience, and the leadership you forged in the fire of Special Forces are yours to keep forever. You find a new team. Maybe it's your family, a new career, or a community of veterans. You learn to live with the ghosts and honor the memories. You are no longer an active operator, but the quiet professional lives on in everything you do. The journey that started in the mud of selection ends with a man who knows exactly who he is and what he is capable of enduring.